All right, what's going on, guys? We got PGA Championship week this week. Southern Hills, of course, has not been played since 2007 in this tournament. So there's a lot of unknowns. I would go into this thinking greens and regulation are important because we know that scoring is going to be difficult around there. A lot of players have been talking about it's going to be a high scoring tournament this week. So look for the guys that hit a lot of greens and get on there safely. So I am going to start. There's so many top names you could easily go after. I mean, Scheffler at 11-4. I don't care if he's the highest ranked player. I mean, you got to go after Scheffler, right? Jon Rahm at 11-2. I really love what Jon Rahm brings to the table. And when I talk about greens and regulation, he's first in that department against the best players in the world this entire season. This guy is not going to be in as much trouble as most players, according to the stats, right? That's huge. Fifth in distance. You combine that off the tee. That's huge that he's going to basically have a lot less club into many of these greens for this week as well. So I love what he brings to the table. He's first in tee to green as well. So Jon Rahm, a lot of confidence as well. There was a question brought to him about, hey, does the win in Mexico, his very last start, does that give you that little extra bit of confidence? He's like, oh, did I need more confidence? Really, this guy is fired up, ready to go, looking for that second major championship. I think Jon Rahm is going to be a really good pick for you in DFS for this week. Outside of Rahm, there's some other players. Viktor Hovland at 9,900. I think he's a really good pick at this moment when you look at what he could bring to the table. I know in a big event players championship, he tied for ninth. He was really out ahead of it. He could have had a better finish than that, could have posted a score. But I love what he brings to the table. And when I talk about this golf course, Rory McIlroy mentioned that around the greens, there's a lot of visual intimidation. But once you miss the greens, it's actually not as hard as you thought maybe going in that it was going to be. So chipping, what I take from that is that chipping is not going to be as crazy as maybe some of these other major championship venues. With that being said, we know that's the bugaboo for Viktor Hovland, 210th in shots gained around the green. That is not going to matter as much this week. I would not be so concerned about that. Look at his putting. We talk about so critical of his short game. He's 48th in putting right now. That aim point is really working for him. As I talk about his 4, 5, 6, and all these different things I've asked him about with his putting, he's really comfortable with at the moment. So I think you really have to think what he could bring to the table is huge. Third in approach. That's a huge set, I think, for Viktor Hovland. His iron play is so crisp and so good. And I think you really have to give him a hard look for this week. So look out for Viktor Hovland as he plays this major championship at Southern Hills. Good pick. Outside of that, Xander Schauffele at 9,300. I love his perspective this week because he comes in after tying the course record at Craig Ranch. I know everybody went low that week, but he shot 61 in his very last round. He didn't even really hang around is what he was talking about on that Sunday because he knew so many guys would go low. But what he brings this week, I think, is so important. I know he missed the cut in the Masters. It was windy. It was kind of different kinds of conditions, but he is such an important player in major championships. He's been trending so well. And what I've heard about these greens, similar to Augusta, they're very fast, kind of got to trickle some of these putts down. And that's something when I've talked to his caddy in the past, Austin Kaiser, he loves trickling putts, trickling speed, playing a lot more break than most players would on putts. So that's an important factor for Xander Schauffele. Xander Schauffele. Here we go. Scotty Scheffler. Getting all my names mixed up. For Xander Schauffele going into this week, he's been knocking on the door of major championships. You know that Xander is a big player for a course this week. So keep an eye out for him at Southern Hills. Other players, I'm looking at Seamus Power, 7,000 this week. Really good deal for you. You know why? He's played so well these last couple months. His first major championship, tied for 27th at the Masters. I asked him, what does that do for you going forward? He said, you know what? I cannot wait to tee it up in the PGA Championship because I love to measure up my game to the best players out there, best players in the world. It's something that he relishes. He's really looking forward to. Only one major, top 27, and a very difficult Augusta with all that wind. This guy seems to be built for major championships. This course specifically, Southern Hills, we've talked about hitting greens being so important. He's 6th this year in greens and regulation. He's a really strong player. I talked with his caddy, Simon Keelan, and he said that he's got confidence going into a PGA championship like this. He cannot wait to play against these bigger players. His short game has been really important. He's got different chip shots he's been working on around the greens, getting himself into position, and also his driver. He's improved his driving the last couple of weeks, has a lot more confidence in that regard as well. So you can see him setting the table pretty well this week for Seamus Power. So I would look at Seamus Power as well. Other players, you look at talking about really good value. Look at 6,400 Troy Merritt. I love what he brings to the table when it comes to playing so well at a number of different venues over the last month and a half. Tied for fourth at Valero, tied for 12th at Heritage. I know it was a tough week at Wells Fargo. We tied for 35th there. This guy at a tough golf course, we know it's going to be a tough Southern Hills. His caddy, Bobby Brown, said that he's the kind of player that when he has a tough hole, he can really overcome that. It's something he's able to flush the memory very quickly, and that's a huge, huge advantage, I think, this week for him, playing at a very difficult golf course at Southern Hills, going after a major championship like this. He's 15th in putting this year on the PGA Tour. I think that's going to be really important as he tries to keep his momentum going and make a run for you guys in DFS. So take a look at those few picks I had for you, and hope you guys enjoy the week. Subscribe if you like this content, and we'll catch up soon.